Do you guys remember Pirates of the Caribbean Online? Well, I do. It was freaking awesome. Then Disney canceled it to make iPhone apps. And now I'm sad. But fear not. A group of fans have banded together to recreate the game and restore it to its former glory. And they failed. Then another group of fans tried, and they also failed. And then another group came and failed as well. Fourth time's the charm, and it's finally back. Sorta. Legends of Pirates Online is said rebirth, and it's currently in its alpha stages. And man, does it feel good to be back in the Caribbean, where the skies are blue, the women resemble plastic dolls, and the sea is full of sand. For some reason. Gotta admit, feels like home. You know what that means? It's murdering and plundering time, baby. I mean, it's plunder, fishing. Woohoo! Woohoo! Woo. Alright, so the game still needs a little work, but it's in its alpha stages after all. All jokes aside, I'm very excited that the game is back. Pirates of the Caribbean Online was a very well done game that did a few things better than a lot of MMOs for its time. For one, there were hardly any pirate-themed games on the market, besides Sid Meier's Pirates and Pirates of the Burning Sea. Even now, we only really had one good pirate-themed game, and it was an Assassin's Creed, of all things. And no, Raven's Cry doesn't count. It was terrible. For a game to allow you to sail the seven seas and plunder enemy ships with your friends was awesome. I don't want to talk about the original game too much because I'll be doing a full retrospective of the game when it's fully released, or at least when it's in its beta stage. But for now, let's talk about the state the game's currently in. The game is in a semi-open alpha thing. Basically, there are two ways to get in and play the game. One, you get an alpha key that will give you complete access to the game by either winning drawings or earning one from drops on social media. Despite me trying countless times to get an alpha key, I seem to have as much luck as a rabbit with its feet cut off. So, if you're an unlucky son of a bitch like me, then you'll have to go with the second option, which is a time registration thing. Basically, you have to register under a time slot which will allow you to download and play the game at a specific time for around 3 hours. This can be a bit annoying as the time slots are getting snatched up quickly, but it's better than nothing, I suppose. When you first boot up, it will launch the game in a tiny window in the left-hand corner, with the game's console script running in the background. You'll have to mess around with the settings to get the game to look the way you want. The game's intro is exactly like the intro in the original game. This will probably send your nostalgia senses in a frenzy. Johnny Depp will tell your character to pull himself together in his "Where's my paycheck" delivery, which cues the character customization screen. Now, the intro only plays the first few minutes with Jack's character and doesn't include the rest, but I'm sure it'll be added back when the game goes to beta. As much as I'm excited that the game's being brought back to its former glory, it also has brought back a lot of the problems the original game had. One major returning problem is the horrific load screens. You know, the load screens that would load to 50% and then just stop as you sit there in agony wondering if it's frozen or if it's actually going to load something. When you get the game to finally load up, you'll probably notice that there's no enemies to fight and no ships to sink, which will make a lot of people sad, but I feel that it's okay that these features aren't in the game yet. I believe the developers want these features to work properly first before releasing them to the public, which makes total sense to me, but the game currently still has a few major issues. A big one is how the game runs in its current state. I know that developers probably know these things already, but I'm still gonna bring them up just to be thorough. See, I tried this game on 2 different computers, a low-end laptop with a graphics card and a high-end gaming rig. Now the laptop really struggled to run the game, and I ended up having to give up on it just because it froze doing pretty much anything. My bigger rig ran the game a lot better, but I did notice that the porting is still a bit shoddy. For one, in full screen, I noticed that the game would constantly drop frames, and there was a bit of screen tearing from time to time as well. Also, the game still crashes time and time again, especially if you decide to do more than one thing at a time. Like when I tried adding someone while running. I went to go click on his name, then the game just couldn't handle it, and it crashed. I asked a few players playing the game at the time how their game was running. Some said it ran fine, others say it was crashing and losing frames like me. So, it looks like it affects some players and not others. I was curious if the game was actually using my graphics card to run the game. There are a few games out there, like Binary Domain, where I had to manually tell the game to use my graphics card. It kinda reminded me how that game ran and was having similar problems. I don't know how it all works, just thought I'd bring it up. I know that porting the game so it works on almost all computers is going to be the hardest part for the developers, but I have faith that they'll pull it off. At least I hope. Now that I got that out of the way, let's talk about the game's other problems. You know, the more humorous and weird bugs that I came across. Like, for instance, I was just walking around, exploring the sights, when I noticed my shoes are gone. I mean, they're still there, but the texture on the shoes was completely removed. I guess that's what I get for being a landlubber. As if I had a choice. That's not even the only foot-related problem the game has. Apparently, the NPCs had skipped leg day, as in, they completely forgot their freaking legs. Another problem I came across was every time I decided to enter or exit the fishing minigame, a weird static sound would occur that would make my ears bleed. It's horrible. I wish I was able to explore more areas the developers had recreated, but unfortunately, the only way to get there was teleporting. And teleporting, at the moment, is a one-way ticket to Crash City. So with the remainder of time I had, I went around looking for people to socialize with. At first, the only person I could find was some chick gushing over how hot digital Jack Sparrow was. Clearly the hottest man in the virtual 7 seas. After crashing for the 7th time, I decided it was time to hit the bar and drink my sorrows away. Until I got there and found some chick stuck in a table. Apparently, playing blackjack can do this to your character. I would have tested this for myself, but the game said it was impossible, even though it clearly wasn't. I officially had enough and set off to the swamps, where the bugs couldn't find me. Unfortunately, the swamps were fucked too. Well, at least it wasn't full of sand. This game is not in the greatest state at the moment, but when looking around at other people's playthroughs, some people got the game to work a lot better than I did. Guess the game just hates me. The alpha keys certainly do. But with all my nitpicking aside, the fact that some passionate gamers would bring back a classic game like this is awesome, and I totally support it. The game also has its own pirate forums, and from what I've experienced, has some extremely nice people in it. You should check it out. I forgot to mention that the original game's soundtrack is in Legends of Pirates Online, and the developers have been adding a few new tracks of their own that really fits the game. After watching some developer footage, the game currently has enemies and quests there, but they still need to iron out a few things before releasing it to everyone. In the end, I'm very excited that the game is coming back, and I will try my best to keep an eye on its progress. And I'm hoping I can get an alpha key at some point, so I can try the game out a bit more. Until then, I'll see you guys in the Caribbean.